All right. Hey, Banded fam. I'm sitting down with one of my favorite Nashville rock groups. Want to talk to them about their new single, I Hope She Don't Read Minds. Guys, you want to introduce yourselves?
What's up, you guys? I'm Nick. I play guitar. I sing.
Hi, guys. I'm Kirk. I'm the drummer.
Hey, y'all. I'm Gray. I'm the bass player.
Excellent. Okay. So I just listened to you guys' new single, your upcoming single. I guess it hasn't technically dropped yet. Yesterday. I really liked it, and I thought it had a really unique sound. I just wanted to ask, like, what inspired that song specifically, and then further, what inspires your sound as a whole?
Y'all, I hate to be a Debbie Downer. I have to dart out for a couple minutes because I'm parked behind someone. So,
No worries.
Okay, I've got to go move the car.
It happens.
Right back.
It's okay. At least there's a question to answer.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly convenient time for you to have to do something. So, Chloe, thanks for having us. We're excited to be chatting with you today. Excited to be chatting with Banded too. So what inspired the song was this house where the band I was in college, where we hung out. You know, one of our bandmates had a roommate who was we all thought was pretty attractive, and so I was just kind of writing the bit of a more glittery, whimsical kind of take on my emotions and what I was experiencing at the time, and never went anywhere, of course, but can get a good story out of it.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was very relatable and down to earth, because it really puts you in that, I don't know, like that atmosphere of where everybody's just hanging out and like it's just good times. I feel like, especially right now, everybody's really missing that vibe. So I thought when I was listening to the single, like, wow, this really puts you in that kind of feeling, and that's like something I really miss. So I thought that was really awesome. But yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit too. Obviously, you guys have a name that's pretty tongue-in-cheek, so I feel like doing an interview and not touching on the origin story of that I'd be remiss to do that. So you want to talk a little bit about, like, how the band formed and how you guys chose your name and that kind of thing?
Yeah, totally. I think I'll pass this one off to Kirk, because that's where when Kirk and I met, that's when the idea started in my mind. Like, I like that, at least now there's more than one drummer in the group. So I mean, Kirk can kind of comment on where the name came from at that point.
Cool.
All right. So, and I can't speak for Gray because Nick, that's on your end, but Nick and I actually met at a house show that his other band Sweet Fever was playing at, and this was in spring of last year. And it was like, it was out in our neighborhood, and it was just a nice little kegger, and there were a couple bands there, and Nick and I were both grabbing a beer, and he brought up drums. Nick is a really obviously nice, outgoing guy, super easy to talk to, whereas I'm just like, I had just moved to Nashville. I'm just in my shell, like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by all these awesome musicians. Like, what do I do? And somehow we were just talking about, the fact that he was using my kit and talking about, musical inspirations and influences. And so he drops the bomb of a question. So, man, like, who's your favorite drummer? And I was so nervous. I go, probably Grohl. I couldn't say, oh, Dave Grohl, or, probably Grohl, just being my, my introverted shell. He's like, oh, dude, right on. That's my favorite drummer too.
Sweet.
And so we just kind of bonded over that fact. And then, a while later, I actually that night introduced like Sweet Fever to the stage, and they freaking rocked it. And Nick and I swapped numbers that night. And I think it was the week after, he hit me up and asked me if I wanted to jam. And I was like, really? Like, the freaking badass drummer from Sweet Fever is asking me if I want to rock? Like, heck yeah, I do.
Oh, way too kind.
No, but and Chloe, it's really cool because like it's a very organic way of like a band forming, you know, at a house show, which is awesome. Because
Oh
nowadays
yeah.
you hear about, you know, Craigslist and Facebook ads and just, you know,
The coffee shop corkboard, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you know, to be in Nashville and have our band form like that, it's just,
Right.
you know, a really cool origin story. And obviously the name comes from the fact that all three of us play drums, but when we first started playing together, it was originally just Nick and I, and then Nick invited Gray. So yeah.
Yeah. I met Gray before I met Kirk actually, and Gray came over and you know, he knew that I played drums, and so he brought his guitar and his big like spaceship pedal board, and he was like, you know, I also play drums, man, and I was like, oh, fantastic. And I mean, Gray, do you want to comment on that? Those early jam sessions in the basement.
Oh yeah, that wasn't the Ale Lounge. That was a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah, we were just
It
like
was at the Ale Lounge, yeah.
The
we were just
infamous ale
rocking
lounge,
out,
yeah.
having fun. There was one time I came over to play some drums and some of the songs, and we kind of tried that out with one of our other friends, Ty, and who was playing, I think, guitar or bass or something when we were jamming, and um, then Nick just kind of reached out and was like, "Hey man, like I found this great drummer. Like, would you like be interested in doing like bass or something?" I was like, "Well, hell yeah, man! Like it's one of my favorite instruments to play too. So I was like, man, this fits in really well, and Kirk's a phenomenal. He's like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm the worst drummer in Drummers, so it's good that he got there. Like you give me some Beatles or some like Tame Impala, and I can rock that all day. But when
Sweet.
you're talking technical like rock stuff, the Kirk definitely shines right there.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. So I wanted to talk to you guys too a little bit about what it's like to be making rock music, especially in a town like Nashville right now. It's coming from an outside perspective. I'm from the DFW area. I'm from Fort Worth. So we think of Nashville as being like country city, like southern country music town, you know, like the Grand Ole Opry and everything. So in an environment where one, I'm sure it's very competitive, but two, people tend to think of Nashville as, you know, they identify it with different genres than what the type of music you guys are making. What's your experience been like making rock music, not only in 2020, but in 2020 in Nashville?
Oh well, I mean, making rock music in this time is, you know, different than say if, you know, we did make country, which is a little more mainstream, or if we did make, you know, if we were hip hop guys, if we were rap guys, whatever. But you know, I think thankfully first of all, I mean, there's some fantastic country music performers, songwriters, singers, singer-songwriters, whatever. There's some freaking like great country performers that we admire, but we connect more with the rock, you know. So country music in Nashville is it's not just country there. That's a thing that brings a lot of tourism there, you know,
Sure.
because until COVID, of course, because of the, you know, the bars and the honky tonks, they play a lot of country music in those places, which is great. But, you know, there's a whole lot more. Sorry, I'm just plugging my phone in here. There's a whole lot more in Nashville than just country music. And, you know, you can hear pretty much any type of music any night of the week in Nashville, not during a pandemic, obviously. And so, yeah, thankfully people do like rock in Nashville, and a lot of people are moving there to make that type of music. And I would love to hear what Gray has to say too, because I'm not in Nashville right now, but until the pandemic, I was there for about 7 years almost. But Gray grew up in the area, and so
Okay.
he can speak to what it's like even more.
Yeah, so I did. Well, a lot of my childhood I lived in Memphis, but I was born in Nashville and then grew up, went to high school around here. And my dad's actually from here, so he like knows everybody in the city and is very familiar with the city. It's one of those things. It's like a lot of the major recording studios and record labels are very country oriented,
Sure.
and it's just a huge industry there. But there's a lot of other music going on underneath the scenes that doesn't get a lot of like national attention, but it's definitely really like happening like underneath all the country kind of like
Absolutely.
um, music that's been going on. And it's one of those things. I think people like hear the name Music City and they're like, man, this must be the place to go. So they come here, and it kind of ends up where there's like this huge like saturation of all kinds of musicians. So I mean, I'm talking like hip hop, EDM, rock, psychedelic, punk. There's a huge punk scene here, and a lot of like psychedelic punk too.
Right on.
And it's one of those things. It's great because you can meet a lot of really fun different types of artists. But then on the same time, I think a lot of people don't expect that it. A lot of people compare it to LA, and that it's just that there's so much music happening that it's like hyper competitive almost. And so it's fun to see because it means that hyper competitiveness brings in some really phenomenal players.
Mhm.
And you could walk into almost any bar, pre-COVID, even if it was someone playing for no one, and they were probably one of the greatest guitarists or drummers
Right.
or bassists you've ever heard in your entire life. And then you like walk over to the next bar, and it's the same thing. It's kind of crazy, but it's awesome, dude. It's really inspiring and humbling.
And that seems like he's exaggerating, but like on a freaking Tuesday night, you can walk into a bar on Broadway and see, he's not exaggerating. It's unbelievable, especially at Robert's Western World. That place had good guitar playing.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's I think there are a lot of towns like that. And the micro scenes that happen within rock communities, especially, you get little micro genres where you'll have this guy, my buddy's in a punk band, but he's also in a country band, and like sometimes they play together, and it's like, all right, and so I think it's really interesting to see that kind of exchange happen. All of you guys are in more than one band, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say, wouldn't you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kirk's got his personal project that he's working on. And then I play with my dad on some of his music,
Cool.
as well as my personal recording project as well. And yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if his previous bands. I think Nick, you were in something with Ty before that. Was that Awkward
Yeah.
Secret? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I think that like exchange of, talent where everyone kind of shares bandmates and band members, you see a lot of ideas exchanged between bands. And it's something that's really fascinating to me, and getting into the Nashville rock scene, which I've kind of delved into it within the past couple of years because I really like what you guys have going on up there. It reminds me a lot of like the Seattle grunge scene where everybody's in each other's bands, and a lot of different past scenes, even like outlaw country where you had Willie and Waylon and Johnny Cash all playing together. So I think that exchange of talent is integral for the progression of music, but also just a really fascinating thing to watch unfold. So that's something I've been really fascinated to hear y'all's opinion on and to talk with you guys about. So I'm glad we could touch on that because that's awesome. Moving on from that, is there new music, not just like this week, because I know it's Friday and everything dropped today, but what new music are you guys excited about? And what old favorites are you guys jamming right now?
Oh man. I gotta be honest. I'm definitely gonna want to send this around because you're gonna get some different opinions on this one, Miss Chloe. But I'll tell you what. Just gonna go out on a limb here. That new Justin Bieber song, "Lonely," so freaking good.
I have not
so
heard it.
good. So good. It's with
Kirk is like, I gotta slam this right now. I
Gonna
can't.
crack another beer real quick.
Seriously, I'm surprised that it's so good too. But one of the co-writers also wrote a lot with Ed Sheeran, and another one of the co-writers was Phineas, who Billie Eilish. I prefer Lord to Billie Eilish, but I still this new Justin Bieber song, pretty good. It's very un-Bieber like. Very un-Bieber-like.
Un-Bieber-like. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down. Great.
Totally. Who else, y'all? What else are y'all listening to?
It's
new,
funny.
I guess.
I gave you a hard time about Justin Bieber, but I've had that Machine Gun Kelly song stuck in the Bloody Valentine one.
Yes.
Which is really catchy. It's very hooky. So that's pretty good. And then I'm a 90s rock guy through and through. And so my favorite band, Hum, I have their poster right up there, just actually came out with their first record in 18 years. And it's heavy and it's awesome. And I like bands like Tool, who just came out with a new record. And for newer bands, I'm getting more into indie and kind of, ever since I've been around Nick and Gray and, because they're both awesome songwriters, I've really begun to appreciate just the process of going about writing a song, because all the songs I write they're weird and just kind of chaotic. And
relatable.
So I've started listening to a lot of the newer Car Seat Headrest, if you're familiar with them.
I'm not, but I'll definitely check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, really great stuff. But yeah, that's basically what's on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, so some new stuff that I've been checking out. There's a Nashville band that I have just recently been looping on repeat called Oganali.
Okay.
And I would describe them as like prog grunge almost.
Okay.
There's a lot of different stuff going on there, but I've seen them live a couple of times, and they're one of the most incredible bands I've ever seen, and there's just like so much raw energy there. So I've been really enjoying listening to them. Then there's an Aussie band out of Australia called Psychedelic Porn Crumpets, who've been putting out really great stuff too. And then my old stuff. So I've been listening to a lot of, I think, a mixture of the Beatles, Tame Impala, and a couple of other bands. Not necessarily to listen to. I love, both of those artists, but I've been listening to them more to hear the songwriting and production techniques and engineering techniques, because
you're studying.
I love to record at home. I'm not going to pretend I'm a good engineer, but I love doing it. I love production, so I'm always listening to hear when the drums come in, when they're dropping the bass out, when they're repeating like this line right here for emphasis, and when they allude to another phrasing they have in another song, just to learn and kind of adapt and just improve my own songwriting and recording while I'm at it. So that's kind of what I've been diving into lately.
Awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, like I said, I think that's so important for artists to study what other people have done without copying what they've done. It's just so important to the process to look and see, what someone else is doing here, and to not write off like, pop acts like Justin Bieber or Billie Eilish, because they have something going on that is appealing to not only the masses, but you guys like it, and you guys are into a totally different genre of music. So I think that is so important. I guess we've got time for like maybe one or two more questions.
If I can comment on that, I think that I agree that there are a lot of ways that it's different, but something that I think our generation especially, and even people younger than us, that they don't realize, and this stokes me up, honestly. This gives me a lot of hope for the future of rock, because a lot of people don't realize, like, bands like, Van Halen or U2, bands like that, or Elton John, you know, these acts that we consider to be rock acts,
Right.
they were the pop music
Right.
of the day. They
Absolutely.
were like, I mean, I don't know about like Justin Bieber status, but maybe definitely like, you know, Dua Lipa, Adam Levine status, like that kind of pop. So,
Sure.
I mean, rock music can definitely be and loud guitar music can definitely be like mainstream when it hits people, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly. Let's see. Sorry, Zoom's giving me notifications. So I guess from each of you, I guess I'd like to ask, what is your number one writing inspiration? I know that's really hard to bottle, but if you can pick one person or idea or etc. that inspires you, what would you say is like your number one?
I would say honesty and
Okay.
be honest, and that's how other people will connect with you.
Sure. Awesome.
For me, sorry. For me, the thing that inspires me. So I've started to notice that a lot of people are like this because I've had the same conversation with a lot of my friends, but I've always noticed that, you know, in my past experiences, whenever there's a very like vulnerable moment that I've been going through, there's always a song that can, you know, help, you know, me feel some sort of resolve or just, you know, just make me feel better in some way, shape, or fashion. You know, if I need to get pumped up, you know, you listen to a heavy metal song and you know, it kind of goes back to the other question, Chloe, about why we're rock musicians, but Nick also just touched on it. It's about like honesty and, you know, speaking to yourself, you know, truthfully and being able to accurately portray those feelings. And that's what's so cool about being a rock musician, you know, especially now that it's not popular. It's like we're kind of the underdog, you know, it's like we're here, we're going to take on the world. And I know it's a little different perspective than the other guys had, but it's like for me moving here, I'm not a country music fan,
Right.
and no doubt there's tons of talent within you know country music, but there are times where I'm very disenchanted about you know hearing someone sing about the song where they're working on a farm and knowing that in real life they've never seen a tractor,
Right.
you know. And so I think that all three of us take great pride in being real and honest and organic, and I think especially in 2020 a lot of people are just kind of feeling down and somewhat you know fleeced, and I think that there's just really a call for honesty and transparency and just to get rid of all that frustration, which is you
Absolutely.
know why we do what we do, and that's what inspires me. So
Fantastic.
Inspiration. Man, it's everywhere. I think I write songs really weird. I'll just kind of like just sit down with the guitar and just like kind of stitch stuff together that I
Sure.
like feels like it belongs together. And I won't even write the lyrics first. I'll write them last, and I'll just like kind of start singing randomly to see what cadences that match the tonality and timbre of the song, and then figure out what I want the song to be about and write it around that. But I think what inspires me with like my writing process the most is kind of my past self, and listening to how I've done stuff in the past, and to realize that like even if I don't like what I'm doing now, I can see my own personal growth, which is it's better to do that than to compare yourself with others, because like
Absolutely.
not only are you like there's always going to be someone better than you. I mean, I'm never going to be a John Lennon or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like things can be different and not necessarily better or worse. And
Absolutely.
so I like to draw from past experiences and kind of celebrate the successes and failures of that and move forward. And then on top of that, I still think David Gilmour's guitar playing is just something about it, man.
Bar none. Yeah.
Changes that does inspire me. Just his guitar playing by itself.
Awesome.
I refer to David Gilmour as the Milk King because just the tone is so just, you know.
There's a lot of method behind all that. It makes me feel so many different emotions when I hear whatever he's playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah, one thing that personally drew me to your music was that it was very organic and raw, and like like you guys said, you draw from just being honest, which I think is something that there's a little bit of a vacuum for in the music industry right now. I think, we're in a time where people put up fronts. So I anticipate a regenesis of rock music just because people are tired of BS and they want something that's like honest, raw, and organic. And you guys are out there making it. So that's awesome. We're running down on time, but if you guys want to plug any social media or any other projects you're working on, feel free to drop that in.
Well, sweet. Thanks for having us, Chloe.
Yeah.
Everyone on the internet watching our new single, I Hope She Don't Read Minds. It's on all the places where you listen to music for free. Well, by the time you're watching this, Friday the 6th. So, yeah, Spotify it. We'll have a YouTube video of us playing it live from quarantine because we're separate and socially distanced right now. And I don't know exactly when you'll see this, but I hope you either are going to vote or you voted because it's really damn important.
Very important.
So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, you guys.
Sweet. Awesome. All right.